as of yesterday, Australia are 7 for 405, Head 152, Smith 101, Carey 45 not out. And just from a perspective of, we talked about pressure on a legend going into this game and to turn up and hit a ton. What an incredible performance from Steve Smith.
Yeah, unreal to see. I'm probably not the best person talking it, but as you said, Kemby, just when you see a champion sort of down and out, everyone doubting him, to stand and deliver like that, unreal to see. I loved it.
Yeah, moves on to second on the list of Australian centurions behind the one Ricky Ponting. So it was just so amazing to see that play out because, as I said, there were so many question marks around Steve Smith and his future. And as you said, Kempy had his eyes gone, was the chat. Had he lost his eye as he got on in age a little bit? And just the way that we saw that innings unfold, for 50 to 60 runs, he ground his way and he struggled and the pressure was on and it wasn't pretty for a long time. And then he played almost exclusively onside, which, quite rare for him. He said that was his game plan. That was what was going to work and get him back into a bit of touch. And then from about 60 to 70 runs onwards through to that ton, he was back, wasn't he, Hammy? The eye was in and he was smoke. It started playing through the offside again. And you're sitting there going, okay, this is Steve Smith of old. Whether or not that continues through the rest of the summer, we don't know. But at the very least, to get one last glimpse of it, that 30 to 40 run passage of Steve Smith was sublime.
Wasn't pretty. First ton in 18 months in the Test side, but it was a bit of a reunion of that partnership they had in the Test Championship final. Smith and Head probably took the game away from India there, and they potentially have done it again here. But you're right, it wasn't pretty for the best part of it, but he'd gone away and tinkered with his technique as he does so often, brought back that big pronounced kind of step over and across, which we hadn't seen in a little while. And it seems to have got him going again. So, look, he's definitely not the player that he was, but, for him to kind of get to outright second on that list was great to see. He was pissed off when he got out as well, I will say. He looked filthy. He wanted a big one. But, he's got one. Hopefully that just kind of kickstarts him into... It's going to be another big 18 months. You'd imagine he's probably eyeing off the Ashes at the end of this year. So... hopefully this is the little innings that can, get him somewhere close to his best again and get him.
What an incredible performance though, because you're just kind of saying he's not where he's not at his peak of his career at the moment, and yet to go out under pressure against arguably the best team in the world and score a ton, so not even at his best, at the end of his career where he's all winding down, he on the big stage where they need the win, and I'm not sure whether they'll win or not, he can come out and do that, not even at his best. Like some players at their peak of their career can't do that. He's doing that not even at his best. And what's remarkable is you see this career transition and how it's played out for the greats of the game. Sachin Tendulkar, Ricky Ponting, now Virat Kohli and Steve Smith, some of the all-time greats of our game. And Tendulkar, I think, didn't have a ton for 2 years. And you're like, when are they going to drop him? When are they going to drop him? As all champions do, he bounced back. He got a ton about just before the end of his career and said, no, I have one left in me. Ricky Ponting was the same, went through a really lean, almost 2-year patch, and I was at the game, I think he was at the SCG, tunned up, may have been the Clark 329 game, and he had that, and he had the big dive and should have been running out on 96 or 99. On 99, took a quick single, got the ton, and Virat Kohli, Steve Smith, they were the same. They both didn't have a ton, as you said, Hammy, in 18 months. Both bounced back this series with tons. So, again, hopefully there's more of this to come from Steve Smith and he gets through to the Ashes in Australia next year. But if nothing else, we've seen one last, well, hopefully not one last Steve Smith ton. If he comes out and he goes, obviously, 100 here, and then for the rest of the test he averages, 30 or 40, has he bought himself enough time to have that last series at the end of next year?
Yes. I think so. No one else is really banging the door down just yet. They've got a couple of tough series. They've got to go away to Sri Lanka, which is very tough conditions. He plays spin really well. I think they'll want him there. So I reckon this is the sort of knock that probably buys him enough time to get through that next little bit. Yeah, should be okay. But look, there's 2 tests to come after this. If he comes out and has 4 failures, we then go into the Sri Lankan series, which is looming as one of the more pivotal subcontinent series that we've had, because that, depending on what happens with the end of the Australia-India series, could dictate whether or not we end up in the World Test Championships final. So he should be okay, but it's not locked him in for the Ashes yet. No. There's a big milestone around the corner. He's about 170 runs away from reaching the 10,000 Test run milestone. Every chance that potentially happens, maybe at the SCG, and there'll be some big luck, for him to do it at his home ground, will be a pretty memorable moment. So even if he's only kind of carving out 30s or 40s and gets himself there and you get that big memorable moment, that probably, again, gives him enough
What do you
leeway.
reckon he needs to average for the rest of the test to kind of lock himself in?
Not heaps, because off the top of the head, like let's say the last 2 test matches, if he bats 4 times, if you can average 35 or something, like that'll be certainly enough.
Yep.
It's more if he comes out and gets a bunch of single figure scores. The issue is, as we spoke about coming into the series with selections and people under pressure, people need to be getting runs at Sheffield Shield level and putting the pressure on. And yeah, there's a few out there. You know, we've spoken about Bo Webster and Josh Inglis and a few of these guys who are getting a few runs, but we need to see that continue to put pressure on Marnus Labuschagne, on Steve Smith, etc. So if no one's getting runs below them, well, they're going to look and go, a grade of Australian cricket who just had a test ton, and he will be there. But if people come through in Shield and they get runs before the end of the summer, it'll be a different story.
Dave Warner actually made a very good point on All Talk with Hello Sport the other day when they were saying, is Steve Smith under pressure? And he goes, look, if I'm an opposition team and Australia drops Steve Smith and brings in some new guy who's played no cricket, who would I rather come up against? Would it be Steve Smith, who's got 10,000 test runs, one of the greatest of all time, or some random bloke who, you know, just kind of coming through? So I think there's nobody yet.
Look, being the cricket guy I am, I don't want to, go back at Warner.
Yep.
But I'm about to go bang.
All right.
Because
clip this up.
Isn't the reason to bring in a young guy not just about who he's playing in that game? It's about the future of the team.
Yes.
Well, what's ironic about that statement is that there's also a bit of debate now that we've got McSweeney, who had a good knock in Adelaide, but there's still pressure. Like he's going to need runs in this series to cement his spot top of the order. Usman Khawaja looked okay in that first innings, but then fell relatively cheaply again in Brisbane. Our openers are battling, and you just can't help. And I know hindsight's a great thing, but you look at the last summer, we played Pakistan, we played the West Indies, and it became the Dave Warner farewell tour. And that it's no major knock, because Dave Warner earned that right with what he'd done in his career. So it's absolutely fine. However, the chat at the start of that summer was, what does Warner have left to gain from that series? And do we take this easier series, which they were, Pakistan and West Indies, granted we lost a test against West Indies, to blood and give opportunity to these guys? So to your point, Kempy, Sri Lanka, I believe we have another West Indies test series next year as well. There will be opportunities in softer series leading into the Ashes to maybe give some guys an opportunity if the runs aren't coming for Smith in the back end. But
okay. Hopefully that doesn't make huge headlines. Me versus Warner. Two great cricketing minds clash.
Yeah, old Yahoo Kemp once again at the top of the algorithm.
Anyway, Steve Smith, he is our hungriest player. $7 off tie this week. Minimum spend $20. As always, a massive thank you to our partners over at Menulog. Okay. I hate that it says this. Segment 3, Tigers drama. I hate that it says this, but it does. I'm sure you do as well. Honestly, before coming in today, I'm sitting here thinking, do we just not talk about it? Is it one of those things like where you just go, if we don't talk about it, eventually it'll die? But it won't die. It just keeps rearing its ugly head.